When we think we are actually listening, what they don't tell you. Stoicism. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. These words from Marcus Aurelius challenge us to look inward and ask, what truly happens when we think? On the surface, it feels like a simple process of forming ideas, but have you ever stopped to wonder, who or what are we actually listening to? Is it the voice of reason, the weight of emotions, or the silent influence of assumptions we barely notice? Thinking isn't just about creating. It's about engaging in a conversation, an internal dialogue that shapes our actions, beliefs, and even the course of our lives. But most of us go through life unaware of the deeper layers within this process, letting noise dictate clarity and reaction override reflection. What if we told you that this overlooked truth about the mind is the gateway to a life of clarity, resilience, and peace? In today's video on Stoic in Your Life, we're diving into the untold story of thought through the lens of Stoicism. Together, we'll explore how understanding and mastering this inner dialogue can transform your life. Because when you truly listen to your thoughts, you unlock the ability to shape them, and with it, the power to shape your destiny. Let's begin. Number 1. The nature of thought as inner dialogue. We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality, said Seneca, highlighting the profound nature of our thoughts and inner dialogue. But have you ever truly stopped to ask yourself, what is really happening when we think? Are we creating something entirely new? Or are we participating in a conversation, one that quietly shapes our actions, beliefs, and the way we see the world? This hidden dynamic of thought is not just about talking to ourselves. It's about listening to a deeper narrative within, and mastering this can change your life. When we think, we are not merely creating new ideas or inventing insights out of thin air. Thought is not a monologue, but a rich and intricate dialogue within ourselves, a conversation between our rational mind, our emotions, and the beliefs we hold consciously or unconsciously. This process, often unnoticed, mirrors the human tendency to debate, reason, and reflect when faced with external conversations. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminds us to dwell on the beauty of life while questioning our perceptions and interpretations. The Stoics believed that the mind, like a clean slate, could be shaped by the impressions we allow onto it. By recognizing thought as a dialogue, we can start to ask vital questions. Who is speaking in our minds? What beliefs or assumptions are influencing these inner voices? Are they aligned with reason, or are they echoes of fears, desires, or societal expectations that do not serve us? Consider how often negative self-talk dominates our thoughts. A missed opportunity at work, a failed relationship, or even a perceived slight can create an endless loop of inner criticism. These voices are not rational but remnants of past experiences, shaped by biases and the fear of failure. If left unchecked, they can become the loudest influence in our decision-making. To counter this, the Stoics advocate a mindful approach to inner dialogue. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The true mastery of thought lies in identifying which inner voices are worthy of attention and which are simply noise. In modern life, this inner dialogue plays a pivotal role in our relationships, careers, and personal growth. Think about the times when doubt prevented you from seizing an opportunity. Was it the situation itself that held you back, or was it the voice of fear whispering that you might fail? By becoming more aware of this internal conversation, we can begin to rewrite the narrative. Instead of letting fear dominate, we can train ourselves to listen to the rational voice of courage and wisdom. A practical way to implement this is through a Stoic practice called premeditatio malorum, or premeditation of evils. By reflecting on possible challenges or failures before they happen, you prepare your mind to respond with reason instead of panic. Imagine you're worried about an upcoming project. Instead of letting fear spiral, calmly think through the potential setbacks, their likelihood, and how you would respond. By doing this, your inner dialogue becomes less reactive and more constructive, allowing you to listen to thoughts rooted in rationality rather than fear. Another key element of mastering thought as dialogue is learning to pause and question the assumptions underlying your thinking. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to ask whether his impressions of a situation were true or merely appearances. This habit is particularly relevant today, where constant information overload can distort our perceptions. How often do we scroll through social media, compare our lives to curated images, and let our thoughts spiral into feelings of inadequacy? The Stoics teach us to stop, question, and realign our thoughts with reality. Do not waste the remainder of your life on what others think of you, Marcus Aurelius wrote. A reminder that the voices in our minds are often reflections of external pressures rather than our authentic selves. Ultimately, the true nature of thought as inner dialogue is an opportunity, a chance to engage with ourselves and refine our thinking. This process requires patience and practice, but the reward is immense. Imagine replacing the voice of doubt with one of confidence, or silencing the noise of regret to focus on the possibilities ahead. As Seneca said, "As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters." By mastering this inner conversation, we can improve the quality of our lives, focusing on wisdom, resilience, and purpose, rather than being trapped by unnecessary worries. In today's fast-paced world, the importance of this practice cannot be overstated. Stress, anxiety, and burnout often stem from unexamined thoughts that create unnecessary pressure. The next time you find yourself overwhelmed, take a moment to pause and listen. Ask yourself, are these thoughts helping or harming me? Are they aligned with reason and reality? By doing so, you can transform your inner dialogue from a source of stress into a wellspring of clarity and peace. Thought is not a solitary act, but a profound and dynamic dialogue. By recognizing it as such, we can take control of our minds, choosing which voices to nurture and which to let go. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. With this understanding, you hold the key to shaping not just your thoughts but your entire life. Let this serve as a reminder that true wisdom lies not in silencing the mind, but in learning to listen to it well. Number 2. The role of assumptions in inner listening. Have you ever stopped to consider how many of your thoughts are influenced not by reality, but by the assumptions you hold? These silent architects of our thinking shape how we interpret the world, often without our awareness. The Stoics understood this deeply and frequently warned against the dangers of unexamined assumptions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This power lies in recognizing and questioning the beliefs we take for granted. Assumptions are like filters on a camera lens. They color everything we see. Left unchecked, they can distort reality and lead us to act on misunderstandings rather than truth. Think about a moment in your life when you felt slighted by someone. A coworker who didn't respond to an email, a friend who canceled plans, or a stranger who gave you a dismissive glance. How quickly did your mind jump to conclusions? Perhaps you assumed the coworker was ignoring you, the friend no longer valued your time, or the stranger was judging you. But were those assumptions true? The reality could have been entirely different. The email might have been lost, your friend could be overwhelmed with responsibilities, and the stranger might simply have been lost in thought. Yet, these assumptions, if left unchallenged, can spiral into resentment, anger, or self-doubt, creating unnecessary tension and damaging relationships. The Stoics taught us that to listen well, we must first identify and challenge our assumptions. They believe that true wisdom comes from seeing things as they are, not as we fear or hope them to be. Epictetus advised, "Don't let the force of an impression when it first hits you knock you off your feet. Say to it, 'Hold on a moment. Let me see who you are and what you represent.'" This advice invites us to pause and reflect before reacting, allowing us to separate the facts from the stories we tell ourselves. In today's fast-paced, hyper-connected world, assumptions play an even more insidious role. Consider how often we scroll through social media and form snap judgments based on fleeting images or posts. We assume others are living perfect lives, free of struggle, while we wrestle with our own challenges. This assumption fuels feelings of inadequacy and envy, creating a cycle of dissatisfaction that pulls us further away from the truth. The reality is that everyone faces difficulties, regardless of how things appear on the surface. By questioning these assumptions, we can free ourselves from their grip and cultivate a more balanced, compassionate perspective. To make this concept more relatable, let me share a story. A man in his mid-40s, let's call him John, worked tirelessly in his corporate job, feeling underappreciated by his boss. Every time his boss overlooked him in meetings or failed to acknowledge his efforts, John assumed it was personal, that his work wasn't good enough or that he wasn't respected. This assumption began to affect his confidence and his performance. One day, frustrated, John decided to confront his boss, only to learn something unexpected. His boss was going through a personal crisis and had been preoccupied, not indifferent. This revelation was a turning point for John. He realized how his assumptions had distorted his perception and fueled unnecessary stress. By questioning these assumptions and approaching the situation with curiosity rather than judgment, he transformed not only his relationship with his boss but also his overall mindset. So how do we apply this lesson in our own lives? It starts with awareness. When you find yourself jumping to conclusions, pause and ask, what evidence do I have to support this assumption? Is there another explanation for what I'm experiencing? Can I approach this situation with an open mind, free of preconceived notions? By doing this, you give yourself the space to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. The practice of journaling, as recommended by the Stoics, can also be a powerful tool. Writing down your assumptions and examining their validity helps you gain clarity and detach from unhelpful narratives. Another critical element is empathy. When we assume the worst about others, we create barriers to understanding and connection. Instead, try to put yourself in their shoes. What might they be experiencing that you don't see? Marcus Aurelius reminds us, whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize? This reflection not only softens our judgment, but also helps us see the shared humanity in others, fostering deeper connections. In the end, the role of assumptions in inner listening is profound. They influence not only how we think, but also how we act and relate to the world. By becoming more mindful of these silent influences, we can reclaim control over our thoughts and emotions, making room for clarity and understanding. The lesson is simple yet powerful. Question your assumptions, challenge your perceptions, and seek the truth. As you do, you'll discover a life of greater peace, resilience, and connection. And remember, as Seneca wisely said, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. The next time your mind races with assumptions, take a moment to pause, reflect, and listen deeply. You might just hear the truth. Number 3. Emotional noise and the clarity of reason. Emotions, while natural and important, often create mental static that prevents us from seeing situations objectively. Think about a time when you made a decision in anger or reacted impulsively, out of fear. Did it truly reflect your best self, or did it lead to regret? These moments happen because emotions, when unchecked, act like fog, distorting reality and pushing us to act before we fully understand. The Stoics believed in distinguishing between what is within our control, our thoughts, reactions, and attitudes, and what lies outside it. When you let emotions dictate your thinking, you give power to things beyond your control, and that is where suffering begins. Epictetus wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Let's explore this in modern life. Picture yourself stuck in traffic on a day filled with deadlines. The frustration builds and your mind races with thoughts like, "Why is this happening to me?" Or, "This always ruins my day." The emotional noise takes over, convincing you that the situation is worse than it is. But if you pause and reflect, you'll realize the traffic itself isn't causing your anger. It's your perception of the inconvenience. What would happen if you shifted your focus to what you can control? Maybe you use the time to listen to an inspiring podcast or practice mindfulness. Suddenly, the emotional noise quiets and clarity emerges. The Stoics practiced this discipline of separating emotion from reason through techniques like the dichotomy of control and reframing. They trained themselves to pause when emotions surged, asking questions like, "Is this emotion helping me think clearly? Is it aligned with reality? Can I control the situation, or only my reaction to it?" This reflective pause can transform how we respond to challenges. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." By identifying the emotional noise, you reclaim your ability to act with wisdom rather than react impulsively. Here's a relatable story. A man named Michael had a big presentation at work, and the night before he received critical feedback from his boss. Initially, he felt offended and discouraged, replaying the comments in his mind and imagining worst-case scenarios. His emotional noise was telling him, "You're not good enough. This is going to fail and everyone will see you're unprepared." But instead of letting those emotions dictate his actions, Michael applied a Stoic approach. He asked himself, "Is this feedback personal, or is it an opportunity to improve?" By separating his emotions from the facts, he recognized that the critique was about the presentation, not his worth. He stayed up late refining his work and delivered a successful presentation the next day. The clarity of reason doesn't mean suppressing emotions. It means understanding them and placing them in their proper context. Emotions are signals. They can alert us to something important, but they should not control our response. Marcus Aurelius reflected, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. So when emotions like anger or fear arise, treat them as visitors. Acknowledge their presence, understand their source, and then choose whether to let them influence your actions." In today's fast-paced world, emotional noise surrounds us constantly. Through social media, the 24-hour news cycle, and even our own expectations. It's easy to let these external pressures amplify our internal emotions, creating a feedback loop of stress and anxiety. But the Stoics offer a way out: mindfulness and rational self-inquiry. When you feel overwhelmed, take a moment to pause and breathe. Ask yourself, what is within my control right now? How can I respond with calm and reason? This small act of reflection can disrupt the cycle of emotional noise and bring you back to clarity. The lesson here is clear. Emotional noise is inevitable, but it doesn't have to control you. By pausing, reflecting, and listening to the voice of reason, you can regain your mental balance and act with intention. This practice isn't about ignoring emotions. It's about mastering them. When you learn to quiet the storm of emotional noise, you make space for clarity, wisdom, and purposeful action. And as the Stoics remind us, this is where true strength lies, not in avoiding challenges, but in facing them with a steady and rational mind. So the next time you feel emotions clouding your thoughts, remember, you have the power to listen, reflect, and choose the path of reason. How will you use that power today? Number 4. The importance of perspective in thinking. Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. These powerful words from Marcus Aurelius hold a timeless lesson. How we see the world shapes how we experience it. Have you ever wondered why two people can face the same situation and yet respond completely differently? One person might see a challenge as an insurmountable obstacle, while the other views it as an opportunity for growth. What makes the difference? Perspective. The way we think and interpret events determines not only our actions, but also the quality of our lives. But have you taken a moment to examine how your perspective is shaping your reality, and whether it's helping or hindering you? Perspective is the lens through which we view the world, and like any lens, it can magnify, distort, or bring clarity. When we adopt a narrow perspective, focus solely on our fears, frustrations, or disappointments, we often miss the bigger picture. For example, have you ever had a bad day at work where a single mistake overshadowed all your achievements? In that moment, it's easy to feel like a failure, but this perspective is incomplete. Marcus Aurelius reminds us in Meditations to look at the whole picture and not let one moment define us. The Stoics believed that stepping back and broadening our perspective allows us to see challenges for what they truly are, fleeting moments that do not diminish our worth or potential. This shift in perspective is especially relevant in today's fast-paced world, where stress and negativity seem to dominate our thoughts. Imagine being stuck in traffic on your way home. It's tempting to let frustration take over, focusing on how this delay is ruining your evening. But what if you reframed the situation? What if you saw the traffic as an opportunity to practice patience, listen to a podcast, or simply take a moment to reflect on your day? By changing your perspective, the same situation transforms from an annoyance into a chance for personal growth. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." This wisdom reminds us that our mindset, not our circumstances, determines our peace of mind. Perspective also plays a critical role in how we handle adversity. Consider a man named David who lost his job unexpectedly. Initially, he was overwhelmed with fear and self-doubt, convinced that this loss was a failure that would define him. But after some reflection, David chose to adopt a Stoic perspective. He asked himself, what is within my control right now? Instead of dwelling on the loss, he focused on updating his resume, networking, and learning new skills. Over time, he not only found a better job, but also discovered a renewed sense of purpose. This transformation wasn't about luck, it was about perspective. By focusing on what he could control and letting go of what he couldn't, David turned a setback into an opportunity. The Stoics teach us that perspective is not just about seeing things differently, it's about seeing them clearly. This requires us to strip away our emotional reactions and view situations objectively. Marcus Aurelius advised, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When we focus on what we can control, we free ourselves from the weight of unnecessary worry and frustration. Think about the last time you faced a disagreement with a friend or colleague. Did you assume the worst about their intentions? Or did you pause to consider their perspective? Often, misunderstandings arise not from malice but from differing viewpoints. By stepping into someone else's shoes, we can foster empathy and resolve conflicts with wisdom rather than anger. In the hustle of modern life, maintaining a balanced perspective can feel challenging, but the practice is essential. Social media, for instance, often distorts our sense of reality by showing us curated highlights of other people's lives. It's easy to fall into the trap of comparison, thinking others have it all figured out while we struggle. But remember, What you see is only a fragment of the story. The Stoics urge us to ground ourselves in what is real and focus on our own path. Do not waste the remainder of your life on what others think of you, Marcus Aurelius warns us, reminding us that our perspective should be anchored in self-awareness, not external validation. So how can we cultivate a healthier perspective in our daily lives? Start by practicing gratitude. Each day, take a moment to reflect on what you're thankful for, no matter how small. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what you have, fostering a positive and balanced mindset. Another practice is to challenge your assumptions. When faced with a difficult situation, ask yourself, is this truly as bad as it seems? What can I learn from this? What would this look like from another person's point of view? These questions help you reframe challenges and approach them with a clearer, more constructive perspective. At its core, the importance of perspective in thinking lies in its power to shape our reality. When we choose to see the world through the lens of reason, gratitude, and possibility, we empower ourselves to live with clarity and purpose. As Epictetus said, people are disturbed not by things, but by the view they take of them. Next time you face a setback, pause and reflect. How is your perspective influencing your experience? By cultivating a Stoic mindset, you can turn obstacles into opportunities and navigate life with wisdom and resilience. What lens will you choose to view your life through today? Thank you for being part of today's video. Your presence here means so much to us, and we're grateful to have you as a member of our growing community. Whether you're just beginning your Stoic journey or have been with us for a while, your voice matters. Feel free to share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. If you're new here, simply comment, "I am a newbie," to introduce yourself. And if you've been on this path for some time, let us know by commenting, "I am Stoic." Your engagement not only inspires others but also motivates us to continue sharing valuable content with you. Now, let's move forward on this journey together, shall we? Number 5. Detachment from external noise. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. These wise words from Marcus Aurelius hold a profound truth. Much of the turmoil we experience comes not from the world around us, but from how we interpret and react to it. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the opinions of others, the constant noise of social media, or the relentless demands of modern life? This external noise can feel suffocating, drowning out your inner voice and leaving you feeling unmoored. But what if you could step back and silence that noise? What if you could focus on what truly matters, rather than being swept away by distractions? This is where the Stoic practice of detachment becomes essential, teaching us to filter out the noise and anchor ourselves in reason, purpose, and clarity. In a world that demands our attention at every turn, it's easy to lose sight of what's within our control. Think about your day. How often do you check your phone, scroll through social media, or worry about how others perceive you? These external influences pull us in different directions, clouding our judgment and fueling unnecessary stress. The Stoics understood this dynamic well, warning against becoming entangled in things beyond our control. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is a reminder that while we can't control the noise of the world, we can control how much power we give it over our thoughts and actions. By detaching from what we cannot influence, we free ourselves to focus on what truly matters: our character, our choices, and our inner peace. Let me share a modern story that illustrates this concept. A man named James, a mid-level executive, found himself constantly stressed at work. He spent hours worrying about office gossip, his boss's mood, and whether he was meeting others' expectations. This external noise consumed his energy, leaving him drained and unable to focus on his goals. One day, James stumbled upon the writings of Marcus Aurelius and decided to try something new: detachment. He began by identifying what was within his control, his work ethic, his attitude, and his responses, and letting go of what wasn't, like others' opinions or office politics. Over time, James noticed a profound change. By tuning out the external noise, he gained clarity, performed better at work, and felt more at peace. His newfound focus allowed him to thrive, not because the noise disappeared, but because he stopped, letting it dominate his thoughts. This practice of detachment is not about ignoring the world or becoming indifferent. It's about choosing where to direct your attention and energy. Social media is a perfect example. How often do you find yourself comparing your life to others, feeling inadequate because of the curated highlight reels you see online? This external noise can distort reality, making you forget your own achievements and values. The Stoics would advise stepping back and asking, is this comparison helping me? Is it aligned with what I can control? Seneca wisely said, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." By focusing on your own journey and detaching from the illusions of external validation, you create space for personal growth and genuine fulfillment. Detachment also plays a crucial role in how we handle criticism and praise. Think about the last time someone criticized you. Did it stick with you for hours or days, replaying in your mind like a broken record? Now think about the last compliment you received. Did it have the same lasting impact? Most of us are quick to internalize criticism while dismissing praise, giving undue weight to negative external noise. The Stoics teach us to treat both praise and criticism with caution, recognizing that neither defines who we are. Marcus Aurelius urged, "Do not waste the remainder of your life on what others think of you." This doesn't mean ignoring feedback, but rather evaluating it objectively and deciding whether it aligns with your values and goals. One way to practice detachment in your own life is through the Stoic exercise of negative visualization. This involves imagining the loss of something you value, not to dwell on fear, but to appreciate what you have and to prepare your mind for life's uncertainties. For instance, if you worry about losing your job, reflect on what you would still have: your skills, your resilience, and the opportunity to rebuild. By facing these possibilities mentally, you reduce their power to overwhelm you, allowing you to focus on the present without being consumed by fear of the future. Another tool is mindfulness, which helps you stay anchored in the moment rather than being swept away by external noise. When you find yourself distracted or overwhelmed, pause and take a deep breath. Ask yourself, what truly matters right now? What can I control in this situation? By redirecting your focus inward, you reclaim your ability to act with intention, rather than reacting to every external stimulus. This practice not only fosters calm but also strengthens your ability to make decisions rooted in clarity and purpose. At its core, detachment from external noise is about reclaiming your mental space. It's about recognizing that the world will always be noisy, but you have the power to decide what you listen to and what you let go. When you detach from the distractions, opinions, and pressures of others, you make room for what truly matters: your growth, your values, and your peace of mind. The lesson is simple yet profound. Control what you can, let go of what you can't, and focus on living a life that reflects your true self. As you move forward, ask yourself, how much of your day is spent worrying about things you can't control? And what could you achieve if you redirected that energy toward what truly matters? The answers lie in the quiet clarity that comes from detachment, a practice that can transform not only your thoughts but your entire approach to life. Number 6. The Art of Deliberation. Deliberate much before saying or doing anything, for you will not have the power of recalling what has been said or done, cautioned Epictetus. emphasizing the immense value of careful thought before action. But how often do we rush into decisions driven by fleeting emotions or external pressures only to regret them later? The art of deliberation is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, a practice that reminds us to slow down, reflect, and ensure our actions align with reason and virtue. Have you ever asked yourself in a moment of haste whether you are truly thinking clearly or simply reacting? This pause for reflection is where wisdom begins, offering us the opportunity to act with intention rather than impulsivity. Deliberation is not simply the process of thinking. It is the act of questioning and refining our thoughts to ensure they are guided by reason rather than emotion. Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations advised, "You always have the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control." This wisdom reminds us that not every situation demands an immediate reaction or judgment. Yet, in our fast-paced world, we often feel pressured to respond quickly to emails, conflicts, or decisions that could greatly impact our lives. Deliberation gives us the space to step back and evaluate, is this worth my energy? Is this aligned with my values? What are the possible consequences of my actions? Think of a modern scenario, a heated argument with a coworker over a missed deadline. The immediate temptation might be to lash out, defending yourself or blaming others. But what would happen if instead you paused, took a breath, and considered the bigger picture? Perhaps the delay was due to unforeseen circumstances, or maybe a calm discussion could lead to a better solution. This pause is the essence of deliberation, recognizing that your initial reaction is not always the best course of action. By practicing this art, you transform potential conflict into an opportunity for growth and understanding. The Stoics were masters of this practice because they understood that the decisions we make define the course of our lives. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." How many times have you agonized over a decision, only to realize later that the stress was self-imposed? Deliberation helps us see through the fog of fear and doubt, enabling us to focus on what truly matters. It is not about overthinking or delaying action indefinitely. Rather, it is about ensuring that our actions are rooted in clarity and purpose. This balance is crucial, especially in today's world where distractions and information overload can cloud our judgment. A powerful example of deliberation in action comes from a story of a man named Paul, a small business owner facing a critical decision during a financial downturn. His instinct was to make drastic cuts, including layoffs, to save the company. But before acting, Paul took a step back and reflected, "What are my options? What are the long-term implications of this decision?" By deliberating, he realized that offering reduced hours across the team would not only save jobs, but also foster loyalty and morale. This thoughtful approach not only stabilized his business but also strengthened his relationships with employees who were willing to make sacrifices for the greater good. Paul's story illustrates how deliberation allows us to find solutions that align with both logic and compassion. One of the most effective tools for practicing deliberation is to ask yourself questions that challenge your initial assumptions. Marcus Aurelius suggested we examine every impression and ask, "Is this something that is, or is it just the way it appears to me?" This exercise helps us separate facts from emotions, ensuring that our decisions are based on reality rather than distorted perceptions. Another powerful question to consider is, what would a wise person do in this situation? By stepping outside of your immediate perspective, you gain clarity and broaden your understanding. In our everyday lives, the art of deliberation can help us navigate everything from minor disagreements to life-changing decisions. For instance, when faced with a tough choice, write down the pros and cons and reflect on how each option aligns with your core values. Journaling, a practice advocated by the Stoics, is an excellent way to slow down your thinking and uncover deeper insights. As Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. By clarifying your intentions through deliberation, you create a roadmap for action that is both thoughtful and decisive. It's important to remember that deliberation is not about achieving perfection or avoiding mistakes entirely. It's about minimizing unnecessary regret and acting with integrity. Life will always present challenges, and we cannot control every outcome. However, by deliberating, we ensure that our actions reflect our highest principles and our best selves. This practice builds confidence and resilience, enabling us to face the unknown with courage rather than fear. At its heart, the art of deliberation is about reclaiming control over your mind and your life. It reminds us that we are not at the mercy of our impulses or circumstances, but rather, we are the architects of our choices. The next time you find yourself on the brink of a decision, pause and ask, am I acting with intention, or am I being driven by haste? This simple act of reflection can transform not only the decision itself, but also the trajectory of your life. As you move forward, let the wisdom of the Stoics guide you. Act deliberately, think clearly, and live purposefully. In doing so, you'll discover the power of thoughtful action and the peace that comes with knowing you've done your best. If you've made it this far, you're a seeker of wisdom and clarity. Drop a comment saying, "I am listening," to show you're committed to mastering your inner dialogue and embracing the Stoic way of life. Stay tuned. There's so much more to discover on this transformative journey. Number 7. Listening to the Logos. There is a kind of river of things passing into being, and time is a violent torrent, Marcus Aurelius wrote, reflecting on the constant flow of life and its profound connection to the Logos, the universal order, reason, and logic that governs all things. Have you ever paused to ask yourself if you are in harmony with this flow, or if you are struggling against it, trying to impose your will on a world that often resists control? The concept of the Logos lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy, urging us to listen deeply, not just to our own thoughts, but to the larger rationality that connects us to the universe. When we tune into this greater wisdom, we begin to see life's challenges not as random or cruel, but as necessary steps in the unfolding of a larger plan. Are you truly listening to this wisdom, or are you letting noise and distractions drown it out? The Stoics believed that the Logos is both external and internal, shaping the universe and existing within each of us as reason and rationality. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have within you something stronger and more divine than what generates the passions that trouble you." This internal Logos is our guiding compass, the voice of reason that whispers clarity when emotions and chaos threaten to overwhelm us. But in the rush of modern life, it's easy to lose touch with this voice. Think about the last time you faced a setback. Did you take a moment to reflect and align your response with your deeper principles? Or did you react impulsively, fueled by frustration or fear? Listening to the Logos means pausing to understand the nature of events and responding with wisdom rather than reactivity. Consider the story of a man named Richard, who recently faced the closure of his small business. After years of hard work, at first he felt consumed by anger and despair, questioning why this had happened to him. But as he reflected, he realized that the loss was an opportunity to pivot toward something new, something more aligned with his values and long-term goals. By embracing the Stoic principle of aligning with the Logos, Richard found peace in the understanding that life's events, even painful ones, are not obstacles but part of a greater flow. This shift in mindset didn't change the difficulty of his situation, but it changed his ability to navigate it with resilience and purpose. In our modern world, listening to the Logos requires us to cut through the noise of endless distractions, external validation, and fleeting emotions. Social media, for instance, thrives on drawing us away from inner reflection, urging us to compare ourselves to others and seek approval in likes and comments. But the Stoics would advise us to turn inward, to reconnect with the rational part of ourselves that understands what truly matters. Epictetus said, "Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will, and your life will be serene." This does not mean passivity, but rather acceptance of the natural order, allowing us to act effectively within the boundaries of what we can control. The Logos also teaches us about interconnectedness, the idea that we are all part of a greater whole. Marcus Aurelius frequently meditated on the idea that what benefits the whole benefits the individual. In our personal lives, this principle reminds us to act with integrity and consider the impact of our choices on others. For example, when facing a moral dilemma, ask yourself, does this decision align with the greater good? Am I acting in a way that contributes to harmony, or am I creating discord? By aligning our actions with the Logos, we not only strengthen our character but also contribute to a more just and balanced world. One practical way to listen to the Logos in daily life is through mindful reflection. Take a few moments each day to ask yourself, am I living in alignment with my values? Am I accepting life's challenges as opportunities to grow? Or am I resisting the flow of events out of fear or frustration? Journaling, a practice favored by the Stoics, can help you identify where you may be out of sync with the Logos and how to realign. Another practice is to observe nature, as the Stoics often did, finding inspiration in its balance and order. Seneca wrote, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished." By observing the natural world, we can learn to trust in the unfolding of life's events, even when they seem difficult or incomprehensible. Listening to the Logos also means embracing the impermanence of life. The Stoics frequently reminded themselves that everything is fleeting, and clinging to what is temporary only leads to suffering. When faced with loss, whether it's the end of a relationship, a career setback, or even the passing of a loved one, we are called to reflect on the transient nature of existence. This reflection doesn't diminish the pain, but helps us see it as part of life's flow. As Marcus Aurelius put it, accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. This perspective allows us to face change and loss with grace, finding meaning even in life's most difficult moments. Ultimately, listening to the Logos is about living with clarity, purpose, and connection. It's about recognizing that life's challenges are not obstacles but opportunities to grow and align more deeply with the natural order. The lesson here is profound yet simple. Trust the process of life, act with reason, and embrace the interconnectedness of all things. The next time you face a decision, a setback, or a moment of doubt, pause and ask yourself, am I listening to the voice of reason within me, or am I letting fear and distraction take over? By choosing to listen to the Logos, you empower yourself to navigate life with wisdom and serenity, creating a life that reflects the beauty and order of the universe itself. Number 8. The practice of mindful listening to thought. Mindful listening to thought is a practice of profound importance, yet it is often overlooked. We go through our days on autopilot, reacting instead of reflecting, letting unexamined thoughts dictate our actions and emotions. Have you ever considered how much clarity and peace you could find if you paused and learned to observe your thoughts with care? This is what the Stoics teach us: to engage with our inner dialogue intentionally, transforming it from a source of chaos into a tool for wisdom and growth. At its core, mindful listening is about creating a space between your thoughts and your reactions. Thoughts are not facts, yet how often do we accept them as truth without question? A fleeting idea like, "I'm not good enough," or "this situation is hopeless," can spiral into anxiety or defeat if left unchecked. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus advised, "Don't let the force of an impression when it first hits you knock you off your feet. Say to it, 'Hold on a moment. Let me see who you are and what you represent.'" This simple act of pausing allows us to examine our thoughts before they take hold, separating what is rational and useful from what is impulsive or harmful. Let's relate this to modern life. Think of a time when you received critical feedback at work. Did your mind immediately jump to defensiveness, perhaps thinking, "They don't appreciate me," or "I'll never get this right"? These thoughts are natural but not always accurate. Instead of reacting, what if you took a moment to listen to those thoughts mindfully? What if you asked yourself, "Is this criticism valid? Is there something I can learn from it? Am I letting my emotions cloud my judgment?" By practicing this pause, you shift from reacting emotionally to responding thoughtfully, turning what could feel like an attack into an opportunity for growth. This practice of mindful listening isn't just for moments of conflict. It's a tool for everyday clarity. Consider a busy parent juggling work, family, and personal responsibilities. The constant flood of thoughts, worries about deadlines, guilt over missed moments with the kids, doubts about their abilities, can feel overwhelming. But by pausing and mindfully observing each thought as it arises, they can ask, "Is this thought helping me? Or is it creating unnecessary stress? What can I focus on right now that truly matters?" This process not only reduces mental noise but also allows for more focused and meaningful action. Marcus Aurelius encouraged this approach, writing, "You have to assemble your life yourself, action by action." Mindful listening helps you identify the actions that align with your values and goals. Powerful story of mindful listening comes from a man named Tom, who struggled with self-doubt in his career. Every time he faced a challenge, his thoughts would race. What if I fail? What if I'm not smart enough? These thoughts became a barrier holding him back from opportunities. But one day Tom decided to change his approach. Inspired by Stoic teachings, he began a practice of journaling each morning, writing down his thoughts and examining them. He asked himself, "Is this fear based on fact, or is it a story I'm telling myself? What is within my control today?" Over time, this practice allowed him to identify patterns of negative thinking and replace them with constructive questions. Tom's career didn't transform overnight, but his mindset did. By listening to his thoughts mindfully, he gained confidence and clarity, tackling challenges with a calm, focused approach. The Stoics saw thought as the seed of action, and mindful listening ensures that these seeds grow into something worthwhile. But this practice requires patience and consistency. Start by setting aside a few moments each day to observe your thoughts without judgment. This could be during a morning walk, while sipping your coffee, or even at your desk. As thoughts arise, ask yourself, is this thought rooted in reality, or is it influenced by fear or bias? Does it serve my well-being and goals? What can I do about it? Journaling is another effective tool, as it gives you a tangible way to engage with your thoughts, turning abstract ideas into something you can analyze and refine. Seneca reminds us, "As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters." Mindful listening ensures the tale of your thoughts is one worth living. In today's fast-paced, overstimulated world, the need for mindful listening is greater than ever. Social media, news cycles, and constant notifications pull our attention outward, drowning out our ability to hear the quieter voice of reason within us. By practicing mindful listening, we reclaim control over our mental space, allowing ourselves to focus on what truly matters. When faced with an overwhelming situation, instead of letting your thoughts run wild, ask yourself, what is within my control? How can I respond in a way that reflects my values? This process not only calms the mind, but also strengthens your ability to act with intention and integrity. At its heart, The practice of mindful listening to thought is about mastering the conversation within yourself. It's about recognizing that your thoughts are not your master. They are your tools. By learning to listen to them with clarity and purpose, you gain the power to shape your actions and, ultimately, your life. The next time your mind feels like a whirlwind of noise, pause and remember this. You have the ability to listen, reflect, and choose the thoughts that guide you. What would your life look like if you truly listened to your mind with patience and wisdom? The answer lies in the practice of mindful listening, a skill that can transform not only how you think but also how you live. Number 9. The connection between thinking and action. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. These words from Marcus Aurelius remind us that thought and action are inseparable. What we think directly shapes how we act, and how we act determines the life we live. But have you ever paused to ask yourself whether your thoughts are leading you toward meaningful action, or are they holding you back in endless hesitation or self-doubt? The connection between thinking and action is at the heart of Stoic philosophy, urging us to move beyond overanalyzing or endless planning, and instead use our thoughts as a foundation for virtuous and purposeful action. Are your thoughts propelling you forward, or are they trapping you in a loop of inaction? This question is not just philosophical, it's deeply practical, influencing every decision and interaction in our daily lives. The Stoics believed that thinking alone is not enough. While contemplation and reflection are vital, they are incomplete without action. Epictetus famously said, "First say to yourself what you would be and then do what you have to do." This advice highlights the necessity of aligning our thoughts with our deeds. It's easy to plan or dream about being courageous, disciplined, or kind. But how often do we act on these intentions? Consider a moment when you've had a great idea or intention, perhaps to start a new project, have a difficult conversation, or improve a relationship, but hesitated, letting fear, doubt, or overthinking get in the way. That hesitation creates a gap between what you know you should do and what you actually do, leading to regret and stagnation. The Stoics teach us to bridge this gap by anchoring thought in action, ensuring that every idea or reflection leads to meaningful steps forward. A modern example can help illustrate this point. Sarah, a professional in her 40s, wanted to start her own business but was paralyzed by thoughts of failure. She spent months researching, planning, and imagining scenarios, yet she never took the first step. One day, a mentor reminded her of a Stoic principle: focus on what you can control and act. Sarah realized she could not guarantee success, but she could start small, creating a business plan, talking to potential clients, and testing her idea. By shifting her mindset from overthinking to actionable steps, she gained momentum and her business began to grow. Sarah's story reflects the Stoic wisdom that action, however small, is the antidote to fear and overanalysis. This connection between thought and action also applies to moral and ethical decisions. It's not enough to think about being virtuous. We must embody those virtues in our behavior. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the idea that our actions should serve the common good, writing, "What we do now echoes in eternity." This doesn't mean grand gestures are required. It's often the small, everyday actions that define our character. For example, when faced with the choice to be honest or take the easy way out, do your thoughts align with your actions? When you think about helping someone in need, do you follow through? These moments of alignment or misalignment between thought and action shape who we are and how others perceive us. Another important aspect of this connection is how our actions reinforce our thoughts. When we act courageously, even if we feel afraid, we begin to think of ourselves as courageous. When we take disciplined steps toward a goal, our thoughts align with a sense of achievement and capability. This feedback loop between thinking and doing is powerful. If you've ever committed to a fitness routine, you've experienced this firsthand. The initial thought, "I want to get healthier," leads to action, and those actions, like consistent workouts, reinforce the belief that you are someone who values health. On the other hand, when thoughts remain unacted upon, they can create a sense of frustration and self-doubt, eroding our confidence over time. The Stoics also remind us that not all thoughts are worth acting on. Epictetus warned, "It's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about them." This highlights the importance of examining our thoughts before turning them into actions. Are your thoughts based on reason and aligned with your values, or are they impulsive, emotional reactions? For instance, in the heat of anger, you might think about lashing out at someone, but mindful reflection reminds you that such an action would contradict your principles. This practice of discerning which thoughts to act on ensures that our actions are not only purposeful but also virtuous. In today's world where distractions and external pressures abound, the connection between thinking and action is more critical than ever. Social media, for example, can flood our minds with ideas and comparisons, leaving us overwhelmed and paralyzed. The Stoics would urge us to cut through this noise by focusing on what truly matters. What can you do today, right now, that aligns with your values and moves you closer to your goals? Whether it's reaching out to a loved one, making progress on a project, or simply taking a walk to clear your mind, every action, however small, reinforces the connection between thought and purpose. Ultimately, the connection between thinking and action teaches us that wisdom lies not in endless contemplation, but in the courage to act. Thoughts are the foundation, but action is the structure we build upon them. The next time you find yourself stuck in indecision or overthinking, ask yourself, what can I do right now that reflects the best version of myself? Remember, as Marcus Aurelius wrote, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This reminder of life's brevity calls us to act with intention, ensuring that our thoughts lead to actions that reflect our deepest values. How will you put your thoughts into action today? And what legacy will those actions leave behind? The answer lies in your willingness to think clearly and act decisively, transforming ideas into meaningful change. When we think, we are not just producing ideas, we are participating in a meaningful dialogue with ourselves, reflecting on our values, and shaping how we engage with the world around us. By practicing mindful listening to our thoughts, filtering out distractions and aligning our minds with reason and virtue, we tap into the profound wisdom of Stoicism to live with greater clarity, purpose, and resilience. If this message speaks to you, please give this video a like, share it with someone who could benefit, and subscribe to Stoic in Your Life. For you are more lessons in applying Stoic principles to the challenges of modern life. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos packed with timeless insights. Remember, every thought is an opportunity to grow stronger and wiser. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep striving for a life of reason and purpose.